The conflict involving the United States, Israel and Iran has entered its seventh day, with missile exchanges continuing across the region as tensions escalate and the US Congress rejects efforts to curb President Trump's war powers. Countries worldwide are scrambling to secure oil after Middle East tensions pushed prices up as much as 16%, with South Korea announcing plans to import 6 million barrels of crude from the UAE to stabilize supply. President Lee Jae-myung has vowed to root out 7 major social malpractices, from drug crimes to stock market manipulation, to strengthen stability amid global uncertainty. Operation Epic Fury enters its 7th day as the joint US and Israeli military campaign against Iran intensifies. Overnight, US forces struck an Iranian drone carrier in the Persian Gulf, while regional tensions escalated with new airstrikes in Lebanon and intercepted drone attacks targeting US installations. Our Kim Do-yeon has the latest.
It's now 7 days since Operation Epic Fury began, and missile exchanges between the militaries of the US and Israel and the military of Iran continued overnight. In the Persian Gulf, the US Central Command confirmed a direct strike on an Iranian drone carrier ship. The vessel, described as comparable in size to a World War II aircraft carrier, is currently on fire. In a separate maritime incident, Sri Lankan authorities took control of an Iranian vessel off its coast. Regional security remains highly volatile. Air defenses in Qatar successfully intercepted a drone attack directed at Al Udeid Air Base, the largest U.S. military installation in the region. In the United Arab Emirates, emergency alerts were broadcast to mobile phones across Dubai, warning residents of a potential incoming missile threat and directing them to take immediate shelter. The conflict also continues to intensify in Lebanon. The Israel Defense Force conducted 26 airstrikes on the Da'iya neighborhood in southern Beirut. This bombardment immediately followed forced evacuation orders that affected approximately 500,000 residents in the area. Simultaneously, the aerial campaign over Iran persists. A military academy in Tehran was confirmed as one of the latest targets hit by U.S. and Israeli forces. Also on Thursday, Trump told a news outlet that he has to be involved in choosing Iran's next supreme leader after Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in a joint U.S.-Israeli strike. He dismissed the possibility of Khamenei's son taking power, calling him a lightweight and unacceptable. This, as Iran's Leadership Council has convened to discuss the selection of a new supreme leader, its 4th meeting according to reports. The final decision could be delayed, with the U.S. and Israel potentially targeting who's selected. Amid the escalating rhetoric, a political battle continues in Washington. On Capitol Hill, the U.S. House of Representatives rejected an effort to curb Trump's authority to wage war against Iran, voting 219 to 212 largely along party lines. The measure invoked the War Powers Resolution, which would have required congressional approval before continuing military operations. The vote came one day after the Senate blocked a similar effort. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
As conflict in the Middle East continues, efforts to bring home stranded South Koreans are speeding up. Following tonight's arrival of a plane from Dubai, the government is coordinating with the UAE to deploy additional charter flights for a swift evacuation. Cha In-kyung reports.
Presidential Chief of Staff Kang Hun-sik said on Friday that a passenger flight carrying South Korean nationals had left Dubai and was scheduled to arrive at Incheon International Airport this evening. His remarks came during a briefing at Cheongwade on government support for the evacuation of Koreans from the United Arab Emirates. He said commercial flights from Abu Dhabi are expected to resume on Saturday, while a chartered Korean Air flight will also be dispatched, noting that he held talks with Khaldun Khalifa Al Mubarak, chairman of Abu Dhabi's Executive Affairs Authority. Kang said 18,000 South Koreans are currently in 14 Middle East nations, with around 4,900 of them being short-term travelers. Of these, 3,500 are currently staying in the UAE and Qatar, waiting to return home. The government has been stepping up efforts to support citizens in the region. The foreign ministry said it will dispatch joint rapid response teams to Dubai and Muscat to assist Korean nationals. Officials say the UAE currently hosts the largest number of short-term Korean residents in the Middle East, with about 3,000 staying there. Foreign Minister Cho Hyun also held a phone call with UAE Foreign Minister Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, requesting the Emirati government's support for the swift and safe return of Korean nationals, including the possible arrangement of charter flights. Korean tourists stranded in the Middle East are gradually returning home amid the continuing conflict there. More than 400 tourists had been staying in Dubai as of Wednesday, including about 150 traveling with Hana Tour, around 190 with Mud Tour, and roughly 70 with Yellow Balloon Tour. Some of them have already begun returning. 36 Hana Tour tourists arrived at Incheon Airport on Thursday afternoon after taking a commercial flight via Taipei.
I thought I'd be there for at least a week. Fortunately, I was able to arrive early, which is great.
Chief of Staff Kang also added that he will continue consultations with the UAE to bring all Korean citizens back home as soon as possible. Cha Young-kyung, Arirang News.
South Korea will import more than 6 million barrels of crude oil from the United Arab Emirates as a contingency measure following the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, through which about 70% of its crude oil imports pass. Presidential Chief of Staff Kang Hun-sik said on Friday that 2 Korean oil tankers will be loaded with a combined 4 million barrels supplied by the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. The shipment will be loaded at a UAE port that does not require passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Kang added that the UAE has also pledged to provide another 2 million barrels from joint strategic reserves stored in South Korea. 6 million barrels amount to more than twice the country's daily crude oil consumption. Although South Korea holds petroleum stockpiles equivalent to almost 7 months of supply, Kang said the move is a precaution in case tensions in the Middle East persist. Following South Korea's move to secure additional crude oil supplies, global attention is now turning to the broader energy shock triggered by tensions in the Middle East. Ian Jin reports on how the closure of the Strait of Hormuz is driving up oil prices and rattling energy markets worldwide.
The closure of the Hormuz Strait has caused oil and gas prices to skyrocket and driven global energy trade into turmoil. Global oil prices have surged by roughly 16% in roughly a week's time, but U.S. President Donald Trump is unconcerned, as he stated during an interview with Reuters on Thursday that the current rise in gasoline prices globally and its consequent impact on the U.S. market is not as critical an issue compared to the necessity of military action against the Iranian regime. This is a notable shift from Trump regularly touting that gasoline prices have dropped under his watch. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed on Thursday that White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles and Energy Secretary Chris Wright held an urgent meeting with the heads of major U.S. oil companies to discuss possibly increasing domestic production and utilizing strategic reserves to mitigate the current situation. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum said that all emergency measures were being considered to stabilize oil prices. However, risks are higher for China, the world's largest crude oil importer and the biggest buyer of Iranian oil. The country gets about 45% of its oil from the Hormuz Strait. Reuters reported on Friday that according to diplomatic sources, China is in talks with Iran to allow crude oil and Qatari liquefied natural gas vessels safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Even more exposed to energy flow disruptions are Japan and South Korea. Japan's government said it imported 2.34 million barrels of crude per day in January, about 95% of its total imports that month. South Korea reportedly imports around 70% of its crude oil and 20% of its LNG from the Middle East. With fuel prices soaring, President Lee Jae-myung issued a fresh warning on Friday against oil refiners, saying that price collusion is a serious crime against the public that would be severely punished.
무엇보다 기름값 바가지처럼 공동체의 어려움을 이용해서 부당한 폭리를 취하려는 반사회적인 악행에 대해서는 아주 엄정하고 단호한 대응을 해야 합니다.
President Lee added that any companies that do this would face the simple truth of reaping what they sow. As part of efforts to stabilize the local energy market, government authorities are set to conduct at least 2,000 monthly inspections on prices and quality of fuel products across gas stations nationwide starting Friday. 이은진, Arirang News.
Consumer prices here in the country held steady last month, but their prospects are now looking uncertain on the back of soaring oil prices amid tensions in the Middle East. Our Kim Junong reports.
South Korea's consumer inflation held steady at 2.0% in February, according to data released by the Ministry of Data and Statistics on Friday. That marks the sixth straight month in the 2% range, in line with the Bank of Korea's target. Service prices rose 2.6%, driven by personal services, while core inflation indicators remained in the mid-2% range. Yet the key factor behind the stable headline figure was petroleum prices, which fell 2.4% from a year earlier, turning negative for the first time in 6 months. But that support may be reversing as conflict in the Middle East pushes global oil prices higher, with the impact already being felt in South Korea. As of Friday, the average price of gasoline in Seoul exceeded $1.28 per liter. That's a jump of about 8.7% in just days. With fuel prices soaring day by day, drivers lined up at a gas station in Seoul known for its relatively lower prices nearby.
I always check gas prices on my commute, and I was surprised to see them jump suddenly. So I took a different route today to stop at a cheaper gas station.
This doesn't make sense. I drive a big bus, and it takes about 200 liters to fill up, so I'm paying more than $34 extra every time. It's getting hard to keep working.
For now, the impact is most visible in gasoline prices, but experts say the effects rarely stop there and often spread to broader consumer prices with the time lag.
Typically, a 10% increase in oil prices could lift inflation by about half a percentage point. With the Korean won also weakening, higher import costs could push up raw material prices and eventually spill over into everyday goods such as flour and sugar.
With the latest inflation data yet to reflect the recent surge, attention is turning to next month's figures as the government steps up efforts to closely monitor inflation. Kim Junong, Arirang News.
The president has called for a stern crackdown in fraudulent activities in society at this time of global uncertainty. Our top office correspondent Yoon Jung-min has the details.
As the president vowed to protect the lives of the people from increasing instability in the global economy and security, he has turned his focus to doing away with malpractices that harm society.
외부에서 몰려오는 위기의 파고를 넘어서려면 우리 사회 내부에 존재하는 비정상적인 요소들을 정상화하는 노력이 뒷받침돼야 합니다.
In Friday's meeting with his aides, President Lee Jae-myung was referring to 7 specific malpractices, meaning drug crimes, corruption in the public sector, voice phishing, unjust real estate practices, deliberate tax delinquency, stock price manipulation, and serious disasters.
부당한 이득을 취하려다 걸리면 회생이 불가능할 정도로 오히려 경제적 손실을 본다. 또 폐가 망신할 수 있다라는 인식이 자리 잡을 수 있게 해야 합니다.
Lee called on his officials to check whether current rules and system function well, and if necessary, revamp the system.
사회 전반의 제도를 공정하고 투명하며 합리적으로 개선해서 규칙을 어기면 이익을 얻고 규칙을 지키면 오히려 손해를 보는 이 비정상의 시대를 반드시 끝내야 합니다.
His remarks fall in line with a series of his recent policy drives, including curbing real estate speculation, tightening punishment on stock price manipulation, as well as tackling transnational and drug crimes.
Among the 7 tasks, President Lee ordered officials to improve the technology through R&D investment to ferret out drugs, saying drug smuggling has become more sophisticated.
He also ordered faster measures to help the people suffering from voice phishing, such as administrative orders, as he checked off other tasks too. What's key from here is how to handle the reform tasks in a fast and accurate way, as the president has set the direction and emphasized the need to speed up the process. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
BLACKPINK has set a new record for first-week album sales by a K-pop girl group with its third mini-album Deadline. According to YG Entertainment, the album sold more than 1.77 million copies in the week following its release last Friday. The figure marks the highest first-week sales ever recorded by a K-pop girl group, surpassing the group's previous release Born Pink by roughly 230,000 copies. The new album topped the iTunes album charts in 38 regions worldwide, while the music video for the lead track Go ranked #1 on YouTube's global trending list. The 2026 Winter Paralympics kicks off on this Friday, and Team Korea is partaking in virtually every sporting discipline. Our correspondent Park Gon-woo has a preview.
A new chapter begins in Italy as the Milano Cortina Paralympics start on Friday. 20 Korean athletes across 5 of the 6 sporting disciplines are set to compete. Team Korea is aiming to win at least 1 gold and 1 bronze medal, while finishing within the top 20. Among them, the mixed doubles wheelchair curling team of Baek Hye-jin and Lee Yong-seok, the world's top-ranked pair, is raising expectations for a medal after winning multiple preliminary matches already.
I'm very honored to be competing in the Games for the second time. Our goal's to win, so we hope you'll watch our journey. Your support will mean a lot to us.
The team will face all 8 opponents in a round-robin format in a bid to advance to the semifinals. Also, Kim Yoon-ji, the winner of the 2026 Para-Cross-Country World Cup, is aiming to become the first Korean female athlete to win gold in a Winter Paralympic sport in her debut at the Games.
My goal is always to perform better than the athletes who are stronger than me. Winning a medal is one of my goals, but as this is my first Paralympics, I want to show my very best.
Other athletes to watch include Shin Hee-yeon, a para-cross-country skiing veteran who brought 2 of Korea's 3 medals 8 years ago in Pyeongchang.
The last time Korea won a medal was at Pyeongchang. If we win one this time, it could mark a turning point for Korea's winter parasports. Athletes have been shedding blood, sweat, and tears, so it's meaningful in itself, regardless of strong results.
With this edition of the Paralympics marking its 50th anniversary, the Games are drawing even greater attention, featuring the largest number of participants ever, with 5 countries including Portugal taking part for the first time. More than 600 athletes from 56 countries will compete in the Games over 10 days, running until March 15. Park Gon-woo, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, as we await the start of the Paralympics in Italy, our An Sung-jin was out and about here in the country to explore firsthand South Korea's efforts to foster an environment of equity in sports. Do take a look.
It looks just like any other motion-based video game. But if you take a closer look, the player racing through the lanes is in a wheelchair. For wheelchair users, the simple act of breaking a sweat through sports can be difficult. But this platform allows users to participate in virtual competitions, such as racing, cross-country skiing, and road biking. Players move their wheelchairs to control the game, turning digital play into real aerobic exercise.
I became disabled in 2011, but before that, I used to enjoy playing basketball. Not a lot of people know much about these platforms for the disabled, so I want these to become more well-known.
This wheelchair workout doesn't just focus on rehab, it helps with weight loss and cardio, and it builds upper body strength as well. For disabled people, including wheelchair users, exercise can have limited options with few accessible opportunities, especially indoors.
What started as a solution for people like my mother is now being developed based on their needs. Our platform leads to professional players, which also increases employment for the disabled, so I hope to reach out to more people.
In South Korea, more inclusive sports facilities are emerging. The Pandabi Sports Center is designed as a shared sports complex where people with and without disabilities can exercise together.
There aren't many places for people like us to go, but here we can get together. I hope people with disabilities come out and join activities like this.
The center provides adaptive equipment and hosts sports games, including goalball, a game designed for visually impaired athletes who track a ball-filled ball by sound.
Though this sport is designed for the visually impaired, everyone plays under the same conditions with their eyes covered, which makes it unique. And we get to play it together as a team.
That's why a lawmaker is emphasizing that these sports movements need strong institutional backing for more accessibility.
It is important to strengthen support systems, including building accessible sports facilities, providing shared transportation, and ensuring that assistance are available when needed.
With increasing innovations, these opportunities are opening doors that were long closed to some of those with disabilities. For everyone to stay active. An Song-jin, Arirang News.
A network dedicated to promoting Korea's traditional music is celebrating its silver anniversary this year with a pledge to ensure better access to these traditional sounds for those with disabilities. Jung Hye-rim has more.
From the clear voices of young traditional prodigies to the dynamic sounds of experimental rock, the National Gugak Center was filled with diverse rhythms on Thursday evening. The Gugak Broadcasting system hosted the Change Up concert to commemorate its 25 years on the air. Generations of artists were brought together on stage, including master singer Lee Chun-hee, demonstrating how traditional music is evolving with the times. For the network, the past 2.5 decades have been about making Gugak, traditional Korean music, more accessible to the public.
Before the network, people had to visit concert halls to enjoy traditional music. But now, we've created a platform where the public can experience diverse Gugak anytime and anywhere.
The anniversary concert reflected that vision, bringing together artists across generations and genres. The concert opened with 25 young Gayagum Pyeongchang performers. The lineup also featured tightrope performer Nam Chang-dong, experimental band Jambinai, and emerging group Orumse.
Traditional culture should be enjoyed by everyone in our daily lives. We want to eliminate barriers, including those for people with disabilities, to create a space where we can all share this culture.
To achieve this, the network is introducing a barrier-free programming system, providing closed captions and sign language for its TV broadcast. Furthermore, the network is taking a leap globally. From March 14th, it will begin airing select radio and TV programs on the east and west coasts of the United States, sharing the heritage of K-music with the world. Jung Hye-rim, Arirang News.
Spring feels far away with icy rain and chilly winds. Although the main band of heavy rain has moved away, scattered rain and snow will continue until tonight across the central regions and Jeollabuk-do province. Meanwhile, mountainous regions of Gangwon-do province might receive 1 to 3 centimeters of more snowfall. And yesterday's wet weather brought strong cold air to the country, and we'll need that winter coat through the weekend, which feels like temperatures dipping down to -9 degrees Celsius here in the capital on Saturday morning. In fact, many inland regions will wake up to sub-zero temperatures at -2 degrees Celsius in Gwangju, but -5 degrees over in Chuncheon. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 7 degrees, Busan topping out at 10 degrees Celsius under sunnier skies with better air quality. After a winter-like weekend, we'll have early spring weather back next week. With that in mind, here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have for tonight. I'm Moon Hae-ryun, filling in for Kim Da-mi. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.